Hello and welcome to today's episode of A Get a Life Moment with myself, Lisa Davies. And I am absolutely excited to be joined by Jennifer Lynch, a friend that we've kind of been connected for a very long time. And Jennifer is the most wonderful author. So yeah, I'm sure you are going to love this interview. There's a little bit of juiciness coming. So welcome, Jennifer. It's lovely to have you on the session.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Lisa. It's really kind of you. Brilliant. It's brilliant to be here.
So for those people who haven't come across you or your work to date, who is Jennifer Lynch?
Okay, it's quite a big question, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm an author. I'm also a trained therapist. So I've done Reiki and massage for a number of years. Then I started going out on the circuit giving angel card readings and aura drawings, and I still do that. And I also give readings remotely, do lives on Facebook and that sort of thing. But over the last, I would say, I've probably been writing on and off for 20 years now. It's been a long time. It's not instantaneous. Yeah, a long time. But more recently, it's been more concentrated, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. So what has been the journey? And obviously you said it's 20 years you've been writing alongside the other amazing work that you do. Well, what's been the journey to take you to your latest book, which we're going to talk about today? I'm smiling and laughing because I've been reading it this week prior to doing this interview. And well, yeah, let's just talk about what got you to the point of writing Salsa.
Okay, I'll just show people it, shall I?
Yes.
You can never get it straight, can you? It's a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
And it's actually Jason's fiance did the artwork for this.
And Jason's your son, isn't he?
And Jason's not, sorry.
Yeah.
Who's Jason?
Who's Jason?
Jason Lynch is my son. And his fiance has done the artwork on here. And
beautiful.
She's actually called Lily Jane Illustration. Yeah. What led me to do this? Well, I've been dancing probably nearly as long as I've been doing angel card readings and things for. So probably about 22, 23 years I've been dancing salsa. So it sort of comes from a place of having experienced a lot of different dances, actually in Suffolk, actually in your area as well, and in Derby. So I have travelled around to different things and also been to... You're gonna have to cut this.
No. It all stays in, Jennifer. There is no editing on Get a Life Moments. No editing.
Really? Well, Get a Life Moments. I couldn't remember the name of it. I've been to Jersey for a weekender in Jersey as well, but I haven't been on any other weekenders. Why I wanted to write Salsa, okay, it's because basically it's the love of dancing is the love of my life along with writing. So I was combining those two passions together. This is breaking the ice now. I'm going now. And dancing and writing together.
Yeah.
And that was great because it was like delving into the most passionate, sort of wanting to get it out there type energy. And also it's fiction. So whereas before I've written We Hear You Angels, which is totally different.
Yeah, it's such a departure from your previous work, isn't it?
I know. And but I have written other novels as well, to be fair. I've written other novels, but I wanted to write about this because I just felt like it was the time. And also people are really missing not being able to dance at the moment with the coronavirus and everything. You know, they're really, really missing it. And I thought if I got it out now, in a way, it's sort of keeping the energy of that going by reading the book, you know.
Yeah, I have to say, when I was reading it, before we came on air, I mean, the last time I did any salsa dancing was with my daughter when she was about 15 at her school. And we just giggled because we went in all the wrong directions and everything. And we just giggled and had a real good laugh. So it was not like the book, which we'll come on to. But I used to dance when I was much younger. I did all my dancing exams and all of that and loved dancing. And of course, during this staying at home period, this very strange world that we live in, whilst I don't go to salsa or anything like that, I do like a bit of a boogie. I do like a little bit of music and a bit of movement. And we have had that sort of curtailed, haven't we? That's stopped.
Yeah.
So I did kind of get a little bit of that from the book, along with a few blushes. So let's go on to that.
Oh dear.
We'll dive right in there because it happens in the very first chapter. This is a little bit of a steamy novel, isn't it?
It's a little bit of a steamy novel, to be fair, it is. In the beginning, I wanted to head straight off in that direction to sort of catch people's interest at the beginning. But it does carry on through. But it wasn't written as a sexual book in particular. It was written as a book about Salsa, but it's also obviously you've got the different interplays of the character there, and you've got habits, and you can see the patterns of behaviour therein throughout the novel. So, you know, there is one main character, without telling the whole book, but, you know, Cameron, he's sort of stuck in this sort of energetic pattern of always behaving the same way towards women.
And he's a bit of a lad, isn't he?
And he's a bit of a lad, yeah. He's a bit of a lad.
So it is interesting, actually, because whilst, you know, it is a little bit steamy, and, you know, it kind of captures that sort of Latin, you know, hot-blooded Latin dance. It captures that part of it as well, I guess. But whilst there's that, you know, the beautiful part of it is there's such distinct characters in there. And as you say, it's the behaviours, the patterns and energies of behaviours in those different characters. So again, without giving the story away, how did you kind of come to form those characters? What was the thought behind that?
Okay, so some of them remind me of people at dancing. Some of their behaviours.
Do they know that?
No.
No.
But not completely. So for instance, Cameron is a combination of maybe 3 or 4 men that I could think of in my mind that could be parts of him. So he's nobody in particular, but he is someone. He sort of like represents, you know, some people in Salsa. The other thing is the receptionist, Jade, the receptionist. I've met her so many times when I've worked in offices temping. I'm like, oh, here's another Jade. In fact, I've just written about Jade, believe it or not, in the book. And I went to work somewhere on a short-term temp job, and this woman came out. She said, "Hello, my name's Jade." And I said, no way, no way, you're real, you know. And it's just like, you know, it's just a typical sort of bored receptionist who's had enough of a job, really would like to do something else, but sort of stuck there because of the money and this, that, and the other. And it's near town, so she can go shopping, get her shoes at lunchtime, that sort of thing.
She's such a beautiful character, isn't she? Because you get this sense that she is kind and she's beautiful, but she's got such low self-esteem. She doesn't see herself as beautiful, and she always feels like she is kind of in service to other people. There's not a lot of self-love there with Jade, is there?
No, I really wanted to emphasize that in the book, because I think that's sort of where it's going really for women as well. I think, you know, it's like, I think, you know, some people that I've met in Salsa are very aware and awake, and they're into spiritual practices. That's why I put Sarah in there. But some aren't. And I just think, you know, even if we could get a few people from Salsa read that about Jade and think, oh, you know, maybe I need a little bit more self-love, a little bit more nurturing. Maybe I need to put myself first sometimes. You know, think of me. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, we've got Linda, an empty nester, really, isn't she? I think that's an easy way to describe her, an empty nester. And she discovers Salsa and a little something else, but
a little bonus on the side.
But again, there's something there. There's something there that, again, it's this feeling of this female character who is so unsure of herself, a bit like that empty nester. She's had these roles in her life, and now what? Now who is she? And so again, a beautifully formed character, and of course you made mention of Sarah. So Sarah is a yoga teacher in the book, isn't she? And she's it looks like she's, you know, it feels like she's done a lot of self-work, but still a work in progress. So and then we get, there's others as well. I mean, I don't want to give all the characters away, but there's some really juicy characters.
Oh, I'm glad you think so. I really like the fact that you got into the characters.
Yeah. And I'm still trying to work out Michelle. She's kind of on the periphery at the moment, an interesting character. But yeah, even it's not just the females. Obviously, we've got Cameron, but we've also got Brian, who everybody, we all know a Brian, don't we?
We do.
We all know a Brian.
I've met him several times. I've met several Brians, And I used to work as a legal secretary when I was younger. So, you know, I quite often write about legal offices in my book or something like that. You know, I just sort of see this sort of solicitor who is quite nice and friendly, but some sort of quite subdued, and then they suddenly you start seeing a bit more and a bit more of their personality. And I think it's a bit like that with Brian. You know, he's coming out a little bit, isn't he? Gradually.
Yeah. So, I mean, you really can identify and start to get in with these juicy characters. And of course, we've got this through line of this story and Salsa. And you talk about Salsa, and there's two other dancers that I'd never heard of before. So tell us the difference between, and also I'm learning new stuff because it's years and years and years since I did my dancing. So there is crossbody and there's Cuban. Salsa.
That's right. Yeah.
But then there's,
Bachata. Sorry,
What's
I always say bachata. Lots of people say bachata. It's bachata. It's a sort of like, how can I explain it? It's danced actually by a lot of Eastern Europeans, but it is definitely a very sort of much more of smoochy type dance.
So much closer in each other's space.
Yeah, they are very, and not originally, but much more so. If you have a look on YouTube, you'll be thinking, oh my goodness, they're dancing really, really close, but it's also really rhythmical. The music is a different rhythm, and it's actually really amazing dance. I think people tend to dance it with the level of comfort they like. So the older people tend to sort of be a little bit away from each other, but the younger people are literally body to body moving. But it's got quite a distinctive beat. It's amazing dance. It is really, if it's done well, it is really good. They're really fans of this, Elisa, in Nottingham. More so than Suffolk, where I live, actually. I think it's taught more, and they're better at it, to be honest with you. I mean, they're really good here, but I actually think that you've got more teachers teaching it up, you know, sort of up where you are in the Midlands way, and they seem to be better somehow.
And what's Kizomba?
Kizomba. It's another very close dance.
Yeah, I got that from the book. It's almost like you're in the dark and you're flirting with somebody else's body and moving with them. I was like, oh, that's a bit saucy.
That's very close. And actually what happens in that dance is people are literally leaning on each other. So the woman is leaning her body forward towards the man, and lots of people actually just dance cheek to cheek.
Wow.
Yeah, and the woman
that's definitely social distancing. That's definitely not going to go on for a while. We're just going to have to get that joy from reading the book, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't know if I said it in the book or not, but there's a lot of men that just say, oh, you know, you're not following me, you know, you just close your eyes. I think I might have said it. Just close your eyes and just come with me with movement. So everything is led from the man to such a thing that it's sort of felt through his whole body. So you are literally leaning forward with him, right like this, right, leaning into him. And he's you know, you have your eyes closed, and you know, all the dances, right, all of them are very well, the men leading all the dances, but I actually feel that the woman's part in a lot of the dances is very submissive.
Well, you see, I was just going to say that there's a real metaphor in all of that, isn't there, in the story of the characters that come through the book, because at some level or another, some of them, a lot of the main female characters are submissive. They're very led. Their eyes are closed to the man that's leading them, metaphorically.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't see what's really going on.
No.
And so they're being led by this man, Cameron, at least for part of the book. I've still got to finish the end. They're led by this man, Cameron, with their eyes closed. They don't see what's going on, what is truly going on. And they're submissive to his lead.
Yeah.
So it is the dance is a metaphor for the story, isn't it?
Definitely 100%. And I was also trying to get that over. So that's all quite interesting. Yeah, it is submissive. And I have heard men actually say, you just don't think, just don't think. So what you're doing basically, and all good female dancers do, is they know the steps, they learn the whole routines and the steps, but everything is completely led from the man. So they all they have to do really is just pick up all the signals. They're not thinking. If you think what's coming next, you're not actually being a good dancer. Anticipation, you've got to drop all anticipation and just sort of feel it.
So there's a whole level of energetic communication going on here, which brings us back to the energetic work and the more spiritual aspect of the dance. And the story that threads through. So there's so many layers to this, isn't there, Jennifer? There's so many layers. So here's a question for you. Which character do you most identify with?
I would like to say Sarah. Seeing as I'm a therapist and I meditate, but I would say I've definitely been Jade. Part of me has definitely been Jade in the past. And maybe a little bit of Linda as well, the flirtatious sort of wanting the excitement and thrills. And so I would say I've been, or I am, maybe a little bit of each of those. Combination of all of them. There are definitely elements. That's why I probably found it easier to write about those female characters, because I could identify with my own traits.
Yeah. And it's a really easy flowing book to read. It's got some excitement, it's got some juiciness in there, but it's these rounded characters, and as I say, the metaphor for the dance, the music, the spiritual aspect of it, but also it's just a good juicy novel to read, isn't it? So even if you know nothing about salsa, it's still a great juicy novel to read. And if you are a dancer and you do go to the salsa clubs and you do go on the overseas trips, maybe you'll recognize some of the characters in there. So what's next then? This novel is now out there available to purchase. What's next?
Well, there might be a sequel to Salsa. I think probably there will be. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. Probably not this year. I really want this to get going and get out there before I start writing a sequel. But in my mind, I've already thought some ideas. So I might start jotting some notes down. Believe it or not, this is so radically different. I've started writing a children's story about an owl, and I'm thinking about doing a series of children's books. I'm a very diverse person.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't get more diverse from salsa and and to children's books. But hey, that shows the versatility. There
will definitely be a sequel to Salsa, so that will be happening, definitely.
It does feel like, obviously I've not got to the end of it yet. I was frantically trying to finish it before we spoke, but I'm like, gripped by it. But there's such juicy characters that you can get into. It's almost like it would be a little bit of, if you've watched Bridgerton, read Salsa. It's that sort of thing. You kind of want to, you're hooked into the characters. So it feels like it could continue for sure.
Yeah, the long-term plan for Salsa is that I do 3.
Yeah.
And then I've just been doing this over Christmas. I started the story about an owl, and I thought, you know what? in the beginning, I was sort of saying, how could you write this and then write something so different? And then I thought, well, we aren't just set on one road. We
No.
have lots of roads and lots of aspects to us. And I do really like the whole children's story thing. And it is something that I haven't explored before. So that might develop into something else. But I think definitely there's going to be a second and third Salsa book. And I can't wait, to be quite honest. I'm really excited about it. I just the whole thing, writing it was one of the most enjoyable experiences, because I just wrote. Whereas other books, I've had things like writer's block, or I've gone back to a year later, or this, that, the other, and this wasn't. It was all go.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy writing it as well. It was really good fun.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. I like the idea of children's writing, though. It's something I've never done myself, but it allows you to just go into that different place of complete imagination and wonderment, doesn't it? That's slightly different than writing for adults, I guess. So I know that you're about to move as well, so that's a big challenge for you as well, move to a different part of the country. So that's very exciting. You're going to be moving closer to me, I believe.
Yes, that's going to be brilliant. Yes, I'm moving from Suffolk up to Gedling on the edge of Nottingham. So, you know, I'll be probably still not far from the main roads and that sort of thing, which would be really good.
Yeah.
Pastures new energy.
Yeah, see what that stimulates. Yeah, there might be something really interesting that kind of sparks an idea once you've changed into a different space. So as I ask with all of my guests, and my final question for you today, Jennifer, is what is your top tip for life?
My top tip for life, and you've probably heard this before, top tips, is about slowing down your breath. I needed that earlier, didn't I, when I went wrong? Just like breathe, you know, you see, you can't remember something. That's okay. It's just gone for the second. You know, I kept on thinking Guernsey instead of Jersey. And it's just like, if I just breathe a little bit more, slow myself down, it comes. So it's always good just to slow down the breath. Just slow down the breath. Yeah. Just, you know, you can observe your breath as you're doing it. And then I think, you know, a little bit of mindfulness, being in the now moment, instead of panicking and thinking ahead and, you know, not what's next. It's like what's now. And dancing is one of those experiences where you are completely in the now. You're not allowed to anticipate. If you anticipate, it all goes wrong. So yeah, now there's really prime example of being in the now moment is dance.
It's a very mindful practice, isn't it?
It is a mindful practice, yeah, and it helps us stay in that zone. And that's a happy zone to be in, it really is.
It's certainly, well, if reading the book's anything to go by, it's certainly a happy place to be in. And yeah, so yeah, we'll put all the links in with the video when it goes up, so that people can dip into salsa themselves and get that enjoyment, even if they can't be dancing right now. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining me today, Jennifer. It's been an absolute blast.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. It's been real fun. Thank you so much.